get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on WNJC.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Berardelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Berardelli here with you after a snowy weekend here in the People's Republic of New York City. Glad you can be with us today. We're going to be talking about not necessarily news, not necessarily current events. We're going to analyze what we've been seeing out of the 2016 election cycle. We've mentioned it on the show before. Myself and my co-host Russ Gallo, we've talked about how Russ Gallo is the voice of an angry America because he has been voicing, in his role on the show, his dissatisfaction, his anger, his negativity about what he sees at all levels of government here in the People's Republic of New York City, in New York State, in the nation as a whole. And we think here at Behind Enemy Lines that Russ is onto something. Russ has really embodied what we're seeing out of the electorate in this very early 2016 election cycle, and we're going to go into that as the show goes on. We'll look at it at the national level. We'll look at it at the local level here at the People's Republic of New York City. You have a mayor blaming his own people for their own misery when it comes to snow removal on the streets and things like that. New York values at play, of course. And then we're also going to be talking to Mona Salama, who is right now in Iowa on the ground, on the campaign trail in election 2016. She had just left New Hampshire recently this past week for the First in the Nation presidential town hall. She'll tell us about her experiences there and in Iowa, and to see if she sees what we see. And that is that America is angrier this cycle than it has been in past presidential or even midterm cycles. So let's get into it right now, folks. Time to drop a little knowledge here behind enemy lines. And you know what? A lot of the news this week, and you see other media outlets saying this, is America angrier than it has been? Some places say yes, some places say no. I say let the evidence speak for itself. So let's start looking at some of this evidence right now. All this stuff coming from the news cycle this week here, behind enemy lines, taking a look at all the news. First thing we're going to look at is an article that came out on CBS, on their websites and their web properties, talking about a survey done by the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Now, full disclosure, folks, I don't know what that is. I don't know what they do. Never really heard of them until now. But apparently this is an organization that's been measuring the satisfaction of people with different industries, agencies, public, private. They seem to be the people trying to take the pulse of how people feel about the services they're receiving, whether it be from private entities or public entities, whatever the case may be. And according to this article and according to the survey, the American government, the federal government, rates right about the same as we put cable providers and internet providers. You know, the cable guy who says he'll be at your house between 8 a.m. today and next Tuesday? Yeah, the government is at that level of service satisfaction with the American people. According to the American Customer Satisfaction Index, American government is at an 8-year low overall when it comes to citizen, we're going to call it, satisfaction with their services. That's lower than it's been in the entire Obama administration. It's lower than it was in the last 3 years of President Bush's administration. Can't blame Bush this time, people. No way. But is this an indication of an angry America? Well, it turns out that when you break it down by agency, the more government touches the public, the worse it is for government. When you look at the Department of Treasury, IRS, dun, their customers' satisfaction rate is just hovering above half. It's a rate of 55. Government overall is 73.8. Wow. That's really low when you're thinking about an institution set up to serve the people that actually hire the people that go there and are supposed to be working for them. Now, if you were an employer and you had an employee that was only satisfying your customers 3 out of every 4 times, and there were at least 1 out of every 4 people, probably more in some cases, especially different departments, where those people were, almost half of them were dissatisfied with the service they were receiving, wouldn't that make you think that there would be a time for changing, that you would have to have some employee turnover, that you'd have to improve on how you deliver your services, perhaps become more efficient, perhaps become better at surveying and assessing the needs of the people that you're serving? Well, it seems to be that this is the case we're talking about with this election. People want to see something different out of the government. And what do? You fire the CEO, start at the top. President, boom. You want to get rid of that person on the top, and hopefully things change down below as policy goes from top to bottom. This is reflective of a crisis of confidence, really, a crisis of trust when it comes to the American people. There are those out there that would disagree, though. I mean, there is an article coming out right now, this week, based on a Washington Post ABC poll that says that, according to the people they polled, 24% of the American electorate would consider themselves angry. 47% consider themselves not angry, but dissatisfied with government. Now, I don't know about you guys, and my math is a little fuzzy, but that's 71% of the electorate polled that claim to be either dissatisfied or angry with the way government is working right now. And when you look at who are the voters choosing on the Republican side, based upon being dissatisfied or angry or having a negative view of government, you have to look at Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Those are the two people who are channeling, those are the two candidates who are channeling that anger. Currently, you have Donald Trump polling at 37%, and Ted Cruz is somewhere in the 20s, I believe. Someone can check me on that as you're listening to the show. If you want to leave a comment and see if I did anything wrong, let me know. And by the way, if you want to do that, we got a chat room going on right now at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Click on the Listen Live button. You can join me in the chat and hang out a little bit. People are going to start coming into there soon, and we'll be discussing some politics and some feedback. But back to this poll, those who support Donald Trump, according to this Washington Post ABC poll, of Trump supporters, those who have a negative view of government, 39% of those people that are supporting Trump have a negative view of government. 38% are dissatisfied. Now, it's not clear whether there's overlap between negative and dissatisfied, and then 40% for angry. Again, no indication whether there's overlap between the three, but you gotta say, a majority of the people supporting Donald Trump consider themselves angry voters. Ted Cruz, the same thing. 22% of his support believes that government have a negative view of government. 18% are dissatisfied. 27% consider themselves angry. With both Trump and Cruz, the highest percentage of their support come from self-identifying angry voters. Now, when you go back to that initial number of 24% of the total electorate polled saying that they're angry, listen, I mean, anger is subjective. Anger is not something that you can quantify and define exactly the same for one voter versus another voter. From one city to another. From one state to another. You can't really quantify anger. What one person considers angry, somebody might just consider mildly upset. perturbed, if you will. So, again, this is kind of subjective, but let me note this to you. When we were looking at the 2014 midterm elections, and we were looking at the same type of poll about feelings towards government, 25% of the voters believed and self-identified as being angry at what they were seeing with government. And in that race, as you all know, the majority of the House Republican side widened, and the Senate turned over. And there's a majority in the Senate right now because of that. So when you talk about a poll of 24% being angry, to me that's a big deal. That's something significant. That's something that is probably positive for Republicans as they go to seek their own nomination in 2016. That seems to be a key component of any strategy. You got to tap into that anger. Is Jeb Bush the voice of an angry America? Maybe that's why he's behind. Is Marco Rubio the voice of an angry America? Maybe that's why he notched it up a little bit the last debate to show a little more forcefulness, to show a little more emotion when he was talking. Does John Kasich embody an angry America? I would say no. But who does? The two top flight people. You're talking about Donald Trump, Ted Cruz. I mean, really, does Dr. Ben Carson typify an angry America? He may have the support of some angry Americans, but is he channeling that? Is he embodying that? I don't think so. But so on the ground, you're seeing angry America voicing their opinion. And while they may not be the majority, they could be, listen, reasonable people can disagree whether they are the majority of the electorate on the Republican side or the Democratic side. I mean, you can see Bernie Sanders supporters being angry at the way things are, but for different reasons. Not enough government, not enough intervention, not enough income equality. I mean, listen, liberalism is a mental disorder, but anger can come from mental disorders as well. You know what I mean? So when you look at the electorate, especially on the Republican side, though, crisis of confidence, lack of trust, angry, looking at government like a cable provider. I mean, probably get better service from a cable provider, but you get my point. There's an anger out there that's being tapped into, and that's why you're seeing candidates who are not part of government, who are setting themselves apart from government, who are setting themselves apart from the establishment, running this election cycle so far. But the crisis of confidence and the lack of trust that we're talking about doesn't end at the grassroots. You can see that at the top already as well. There's a crisis of confidence that is being compounded by corporate decision-making. And, you know, if you want to blame the 1% on this one, fine, that's your thing, whatever. But when you look at multinational companies and what they're doing to save themselves from what they see as a disadvantageous tax scheme and system, there's a crisis of confidence in government there as well. And of course what I'm talking about is the latest news of large companies, large American companies, that are choosing to leave America, going overseas, closing up shop here, taking jobs and their assets elsewhere, in order to take advantage of the benefits of other systems that are not American. Recently this week, we saw what happened with Johnson Controls. If you've been following this in the news, Johnson Controls is moving to Ireland. And for those of you who don't know who Johnson Controls is, they were bailed out by the federal government to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars as part of the auto industry bailout that President Obama likes to tout as being so successful. They received hundreds of millions of dollars of tax breaks from various states, Michigan, Wisconsin, others. And now they're packing up shop and they're going to Ireland. As they say. Going to Ireland because in Ireland, when they perform what's called a corporate inversion, which is basically taking a multinational company, having its operations purchased by foreign operations, dissolving domestically, and then reincorporating abroad. By doing that, Johnson Controls is going to have a savings annually of $150